Hey everybody, Vern, Yvonne, Eddie Blau, Sandy, Jennifer Van Spaden, Kevin Provost, and sister Ann Madison, and Jim Stratton, Jack Clay, and Ken Spreeman. I just wanted to thank each of you personally for your contribution to my GoFundMe campaign. Vern's generous contribution, we're now at the over the 25% mark in terms of my goals. We're 1/4 of the way there. I can't thank you enough. A little bit about what I'm doing here, and this is going to be the first in a number of videos and written material that I'm going to present to you as my I'm calling you my inner circle executive committee. I just coined that the gold star. Okay, and a little bit about what's going on here. I'm going to be doing this soon. I'll be getting what's called the Advantage package, right? The other package is the Enterprise package. I'm not doing corporate analysis. A lot of times people use this SurveyMonkey, for corporate purposes, which is fine. But I'm just doing kind of raw data collection. Okay, what I'll do is to use this in a sort of open-ended format. Let me show you a little bit about what that's going to look like, and so you'll get kind of a handle on it. Okay, I'm logging in, got an old account. Okay, and did I forget something? Create survey. I'm going to create kind of a dummy survey to show you what's going on here. I'm going to go the existing, start from scratch. Okay, survey name, I'm going to call this test beta. Okay, and the survey category is going to be, I suppose we'll call it for educational purposes, essentially. They've got different categories here. I'm going to click other. Okay, okay, so you get, I'm going to move the screen over a little bit here, right? What I'll do here is to enter a question, and it's going to be an open-ended question, a comment box, a single text box. They're different formats. They've changed the formats on these comment box. And what I'll do is I'll write a question something like this. Tell me okay, so that's the next question. And I'll put down how long, let's see here. We don't want a multiple choice question. We want kind of it's going to be a matrix of, it'll be a matrix, a ranking. Have you been driving? And I'll put down 0 to 1 year. Okay, more than a year to 3, and then 3 years or more. Okay, I'll put that down. Next question. Okay, I gotta edit that. That's goofy. Okay, see, 3 years or more. Okay, and then the next question I'll pull down. It's not going to be a multiple choice question. It's going to be again a text box. In rideshare, from the driving view, and many of you have probably taken an Uber or a Lyft, and probably maybe you have that app on your phone. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, but then I'm going to go, if you don't mind sharing, what's your rating? So basically what I'm going to do here, what this will do is to generate a link, and the link is going to be embedded. I've gotten permission, and that's a key aspect in this kind of research versus journalism, for example. You need to get permission, and there are compelling reasons why journalists don't necessarily. They have another kind of set of ethical concerns, but for social research, basically, we're talking, I have to get permission from people, right, to proceed with research. There's a history behind that, which I won't go into here. But what this will do is hopefully I'll be able to embed this into a link, and I'll post a link, right, and it'll be voluntary. Okay, people will click the link on it and answer it. Now, there are a couple of misconceptions about voluntary sorts of polls. Okay, first of all, there is no claim that I'm going to make here towards this being, how shall we say, statistically significant. It's not a statistical survey. It's a survey designed to gather narrative data. Okay, so we don't know if we can generalize this to every driver, a few drivers, etc. Right? I'm also going to be coupling this research with two other lines of inquiry that I'm going to be doing. And let's switch over here now to just me happily talking, hiding. Yeah, there we go. Here's my full screen, so I can talk to you without having this goo in the background. These responses are going to be couched in a sort of historical analysis that I'm doing of this new industry. The gig economy, quite simply, is the assumption is that people are working independently. This is often presented sort of as in a neutral light. Well, people are choosing to work independently and so on and so forth. There are different ways in which people work independently, though. And basically what has happened is large corporate entities have seized on this to pass on many of the what are called transaction costs, which are the cost of doing business. The corporation has passed this on to its workers. What does that mean? Well, there are all kinds of ways that this is being done. It's been done in academics for, gosh, probably the past 15, 20 years. You know, they use large forces of adjunct faculty members rather than taking people into an organizational sociology. It's what's called a technical core, and that is, there's a core, within every organization. In that core, the workers are afforded perquisites, guaranteed income, health insurance, et cetera, et cetera. So corporations, including nonprofit government entities such as universities, have increasingly spun off these costs. They put the cost of doing business, they've transferred it out of their, off of their ledger onto workers. The virtue of a ride share, and I am incidentally a rideshare driver myself. It's one of the things I do on the side, which caused me to consider this, right? Is that you can work anytime you wish. You're technically an independent contractor. I mean, you can make $1,900 a day or something like that. Theoretically, you see people doing that in different markets. But there's a problem. This is an illusion. Okay, and it's an illusion that is perpetrated there are a number of indicators it's an illusion. Lyft and Uber, both of them along with other companies, Google, for example, has gotten into this. Function. They can't hype the introduction of driverless cars fast enough. Okay, so what does that mean? That means they have this vast surplus army of workers that they're going to dispose of. So that's number one. Okay. Number two, that for reasons I won't go into too much detail here, that technology, and it's not because I'm fairly neutral about it. The technology is largely hyperbolic. In other words, they're not going to be driverless cars until A, we can get the majority of cars in general to be driverless, and B, that we have, it's a system. In other words, it's not just a bunch of individual driverless cars. It's a system. Okay. The other aspect of the system is, it interacts with a larger system of cars that are on the road already, driven by people with what we call wetware, which is your brain. Okay, that's the kind of critique. Number one. The other critique is, and it's a systemic critique. Roads in this country, basically civil engineers have given the road and highway system in this country a D plus or a D minus. The infrastructure in the United States is terrible, and it's locally funded. I live in a place called Norwood, Ohio, where they've not, because of corruption and what have you, they haven't paved the roads since about 1980. It's extraordinary. So you can't have a system interact with a system that's kind of flawed. These systems all mesh together, right? So the driverless car, I should say, hyperbola, is overstated. That said, the second thing is both Uber and Lyft have had disastrous IPOs. Their IPOs have been absolutely abysmal, which means, what does that mean? Well, if you're a rider, they're going to pass that cost along to you. Okay, they're going to just shift that cost right on over and up the fee that you pay. And for drivers, you get less money. What I'm going to be doing, essentially, looking at another couple of aspects here. The word is duopsony. Okay, and a duopsony is a place where there are only two buyers in a market, and all sellers must deal with these two buyers. It's happened in agriculture with things like chicken and beef production. They're oligopsonies in higher education, where there's just a finite number of buyers, and they can drive down the cost of what they pay people like me. I'm currently right now in a contingent worker state in terms of my academic career. So if you're a seller, right, if you want to sell your capacity, to use your vehicle and your good driving record, that you're vetted as a driver, then only two choices, Lyft and Uber. Now you can do both, I do, and and anybody who was in this would be advised to do so. But the issue is, you don't have many places you can go. You can't set up your own app and then promote your own app and so forth. The other companies that exist, and there are two other rideshare companies only in New York City. They're not relevant to a larger national or international analysis here. So I'm going to be couching my analysis, much as I did earlier research on online dating. I'm couching these narrative experiences within, these larger structural concerns. The other part of this analysis that I'm going to be doing is basically it is looking at YouTube videos over the past 5 years. There are YouTube videos that people produce that are targeted explicitly at the community of people who are rideshare drivers, and they have taken and this is anecdotal, they've taken a pretty dark turn here, right? So these are going to be the elements, these kind of the larger structure, the duopsony, the cultural aspect of information provided through social media, and then people's actual lived experiences is going to be the core. So you're really, in sociology, in a larger analysis, this is kind of a three-level analysis that I'm going to do. And I have to write it up in a way that makes sense to people who are not, I'm not writing this for an audience of pinheads. So again, why soliciting this money? It's always, and I appreciate you guys responding, it's always kind of a fraud issue to go ask everybody for money. It's kind of like squishy, but increasingly any sources of funding, alternative for doing research, even if I were embedded as I was and I left there at a university, most universities, unless they're flagship university, places where there's any more resources left to do research of this kind. And so, even if I were still working at a university, I'd be doing this kind of crowdfunding of the research. I hope to keep you all updated as I move along and as I tighten things up and share these milestones with you, my inner circle of donors and people that believe in what I'm doing. And again, I want to thank you very, very much, and hope that to be back with you soon with some deliverables, some results here. Okay, so have a great rest of your week. It is Tuesday, the 14th of May, 2019. And, I look forward to communicating with you again.